There's an old rule in business. If you can't find a product that sells itself, be the product. Coca-Cola sells the taste of happiness. Tesla sells belief in the future. Apple? Status in a box. But this guy, he sold the image of a perfect president. Not a policy, not a plan, not even a political agenda. He sold a simple idea. What if a regular, decent guy could actually run a country? And that might have been one of the most powerful marketing launches of the last 20 years. How did a comedian with zero political experience become president of an entire country? And why did his launch work better than most professional campaigns? Let's get into it. To understand how Zelensky happened, you've got to understand where he happened. Ukraine in the 2010s was a country completely burned out on politics. Leaders kept changing, but corruption stayed. Every election promised a new beginning, and every time it turned into the same old mess. For millions of Ukrainians, politics had become a bad reality show, just without the jokes. And right into that vacuum stepped a guy who had been making fun of politicians his whole life. Imagine if Jon Stewart suddenly became the nation's biggest hope, or Stephen Colbert ran for president, and people were actually considering it like, wait, maybe? That's Zelensky. Before 2019, he was a huge TV personality, super famous, but mostly local. Outside of Ukraine, you might have seen him in a meme or a random comedy clip, but that's about it. A local star, yes, but not just a performer. He was a full-on content factory. He sang, danced, acted in movies, wrote scripts, produced shows, all at the same time. The machine behind all that? This wasn't just a TV studio with clapboards and cameras. It was a content conveyor belt that pumped out over 10 years. Zelensky was the CEO, head writer, and face of the brand. He joked for the whole country, and for a solid paycheck, even at private gigs thrown by the very people he roasted on stage. Like if Jon Stewart performed at a Goldman Sachs Christmas party, and people loved him. Because he got them. He knew who he was talking to. People tired of politics. Jokes instead of solutions. A guy like us instead of a polished pro. Irony instead of ideology. He turned humor into business, and politics into the next season's storyline. And in the end, he became the main character. At some point, this brand decided to test something bigger. That's when the show Servant of the People was born. Picture House of Cards, but instead of Frank Underwood, it's a humble high school teacher. No backroom deals, no schemes, just common sense, YouTube, and some faith in justice. It wasn't just a TV show, it was basically a beta version of a future candidate. A comedy built around one simple what if. What if a regular teacher accidentally became president and turned out to be better than all the rest? The main character, Vasily Holoborodko, wasn't some powerful speaker or tech-savvy reformer. He was just a guy who'd had enough. He cursed while making coffee in his kitchen. He rode his bike to work. He forgot his passport on Inauguration Day. And then he showed up and absolutely roasted the corrupt elites in the name of basic fairness. Every episode was a kind of mini fable, a little moral story about how things could be if someone just told the truth for once. Corruption? Lock them up. Parliament? Dissolve it. Elites? Tax them. Straightforward, quick, human. It wasn't a platform. It was wishful thinking, repackaged as a primetime comedy. But the audience didn't see politics in it. They saw themselves, their feelings, their frustration, their craving for justice. The show was basically running tests. Is there demand for a fresh face? Are people sick of the system? What would they do with a dream? The show took off, became a meme, and then a political offer. And then someone, maybe not even Zelensky himself, said, why not run this script in real life? Zelensky's campaign didn't start with ads or rallies. It started 3 years earlier, only no one realized it. From 2015 to 2019, he was building a character on screen. Honest, relatable, anti-elite. 23% of TV audiences, millions of views on YouTube, memes everywhere. He was a finished product with a clear message. When the actual campaign launched, there was no real platform, no polished team, just the same character. Only this time, unscripted. In the show, he promised to jail corrupt officials, and in real life, his slogan became, "Spring will come, we'll start locking them up." Just a quote from the series. His New Year's video, "I'm Not a Politician," was shot in the same fast-paced, vlog-style format. Quick cuts, webcam, talking straight to the camera. It didn't feel like politics. It felt like the show just stepped off the screen and into real life. 5 million views in a day, 3 times more than his rivals. People had already voted, once, for Holoborodko. Now they just had to click, export to reality. Getting into people's hopes is one thing. Spreading it, that's the real trick. And Zelensky's campaign worked like a TikTok brand, fast, cheap, and viral. When his opponents called him just a clown, his team didn't fight back. They leaned into it. The result? The hashtag #IamAClown trended at #1 in Ukrainian Twitter for 3 days straight in March 2019. It wasn't just noise, it was thousands of people choosing to repeat the campaign's message. Basically, becoming part of the campaign. This wasn't damage control. This was 80-level marketing. Think Balenciaga turning trash bags into a $1,000 trend. Instead of rallies, flash mobs. Instead of flyers, memes. Instead of boring platforms, quotes from the show that people already knew and loved. One of the biggest examples? The hashtag #IamTheServantOfThePeople. It started with simple Instagram stories. People filming themselves saying, "I'm the servant of the people," then tagging friends to pass it on. Within a week, hundreds of thousands of reposts. And here's the key. This campaign didn't just talk to its audience. It gave them a role. People weren't just watching, they were creating. Supporters became storytellers. Viewers turned into co-marketers. Once the product's ready, you need a killer launch. And Zelensky's final campaign move wasn't a debate. It was a spectacle. Something people watched like the season finale of their favorite show. It wasn't held in a studio. It happened in Kiev's Olympic Stadium, 22,000 people, totally unheard of for Ukrainian politics. The front rows were filled with hardcore supporters, reacting loud and proud to build the vibe. And then came the big moment, the kind of moment you only get with lights and drama. Both candidates got down on one knee, Zelensky in front of the people, Poroshenko in front of the national flag. Pause. Tension. Cinematic as hell. While other candidates gave speeches, Zelensky gave closure. It wasn't a debate. It was the series finale of a 5-season arc, with lights, angles, and a script. This wasn't a classic win. It was a viral video that broke into reality. 73% in the second round. This wasn't just a majority. It was a landslide. Just for context, Obama in 2008 got 53%, Macron in 2017 got 66%. Zelensky didn't just win, he became the choice of a nation swept up in the same emotion. According to different reports, his campaign budget may have been way lower than Poroshenko's, somewhere around $7 to $9 million versus $12 to $17 million. Some analysts say big media support played a role, especially national TV channels, which makes sense. His show was basically on every screen in the country, for free. With engagement, most brands would kill for. Zelensky wasn't selling politics. He was offering a feeling, a sense of hope, of participation. The idea that you weren't just watching, you were part of a new season called The Country. It was politics without politicians. No party machines, no ideology, no heavy manifestos, just a TV show that broke the fourth wall and became reality. But every premiere has a second season. And when fans finally got to see behind the scenes, the genre started to shift. There were no more takes, no editing room. The cameras kept rolling, but the script was gone, and no one ever promised a happy ending. First came the disappointment. People were expecting a new season of the show, where problems are solved quickly and beautifully. What they got instead was a glitchy system, no script, and no buttons to press. On TV, the hero defeated corruption in one episode. In real life, the promised de-oligarchization stalled. Billions from private bank never came back, even though the case involved names that were closely tied to that bank. Hardly anyone in the government got fired. Healthcare stayed the same. It all felt like a sleek app that crashes as soon as you open it. The promises were loud, but no one really knew how to deliver them. And then came the moment that changed everything. Zelensky became someone else. Not a performer, a wartime leader in a flak jacket. No more studio, just a bunker. No more jokes, just a tired face and blunt words. And it worked. 9 out of 10 Ukrainians supported him in the first months. He became a symbol. But the new image came with a cost. The old Zelensky was gone. And the new one wasn't so easy to understand. A year passed. Support began to slip. First 91%, then 76%, now around 68%. People were exhausted. Life wasn't changing. Same faces, same screw-ups, same scandals. The story everyone thought would end with a standing ovation kept dragging on. No script, no style, just raw reality. And maybe, just maybe, it's too early to judge. Like trying to review a movie halfway through. In a world where charisma beats competence, it's not the politicians who win, it's the characters. It's the ones who know how to turn themselves into a series. And Zelensky? He's the ultimate case study. His journey was a startup dream, launched on public pain, sold with emotion, delivered in a starring role. But between that looks good and this actually works, there's always a gap. So if there's one takeaway from this whole story, here it is. Always check the label. Even when the marketing is genius. Especially when it's genius. Zelensky was packaged like a product. Bold, emotional, convincing. But there's one kind of business that doesn't need to sell itself. Where customers can't leave. Welcome to the prison industry in the US, where punishment equals profit.